great pleasure to welcome you at our annual Women in Aerospace Europe International Breakfast at IAC. Thank you very much for being with us at so early time, and I would like to invite the chair of the Women in Aerospace Europe Board of Directors, Claudia Kessler, for her welcome address. Please, Claudia.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of Simonetta Di Pippo, our president of Women in Aerospace, who unfortunately couldn't come to join us this morning, I will now read her welcome speech first. So now I'm playing Simona. It's my great pleasure to welcome you today at our traditional WIA-Europe Breakfast event during the International Astronautical Congress. I would like to specifically welcome our distinguished speakers this morning. Mr. Kiyoshi Higuchi, President of the International Astronautical Federation, who is hosting us today. Thank you very much. Professor Jan Werner, Director General of the European Space Agency. Dr. Dava Newman, NASA Deputy Administrator. Ms. Inbal Kreis, Deputy General Manager of MBT Space Division of the Israel Aerospace Industries. Where is she? And Dr. Deganit Pajkovsky, Senior Researcher, Juval Newman Workshop for Science Security, Tel Aviv University. And Professor Pascal Ehrenfreund, Chair of the Executive Board of the German Aerospace Center. A great welcome to all of you. This year, the space community is gathering at the IAC in Jerusalem under the theme Space, the Gateway for Mankind's Future. Talking about the future, I would like to recall WIA-Europe's vision as recently reformulated as follows. We envision a world where we Europeans collaboratively created an aerospace sector with an inclusive representation. WIA-Europe aspires to be an active ambassador for aerospace. In this context, WIA-Europe acts as an independent network that advocates political commitment in space programs, promotes professional development in aerospace, and recognizes women's achievements in the sector. WIA-Europe welcomes the diverse talent that is key to the growth of a modern and dynamic aerospace sector in Europe and beyond. And I would like to take the opportunity to encourage all of you to use the opportunity of this networking event to meet, to share opinions, to get to know each other closer, and to initiate new exchanges and ideas. I'm sure you all will enjoy the inspiring interventions of our prominent distinguished speakers, and I wish you a pleasant and enjoyable morning. But I cannot conclude my welcome remarks without mentioning that we all, and myself personally, are missing Andrea Böse a lot. Andrea Böse was our Director for International Relations since the beginning of the foundation of Women in Aerospace Europe, and she passed away this summer. So may I ask you to stand up and observe 1 minute of silence in her honor. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the Astronautical Federation for their support and all our staff and volunteers who have contributed to organization of this event. So this was the welcome speech of Simonetta Di Pippo. I now go over to my breakfast introduction. And yeah, well, again, welcome. It's the sixth time that's embedded in the IAF conference. Women in Aerospace is hosting this breakfast, and it's overwhelming to see. I mean, we started the breakfast, I think it was in Prague, probably with about 10, 15, maybe 20 participants, and it's unbelievable. Yeah, how exponentially the interest in this event has grown. So thank you again to all of you for joining us at this early hour in the morning. Women in Aerospace Europe was founded 6 years ago as a sister organization of the prominent Women in Aerospace in the US, which is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, next week actually. Not only the interest in the breakfast, also the membership in Women in Aerospace was growing quite exponentially. I just heard from Paola, who is sitting there, our director for membership, that we reached 470 members this year up to now. Our goal for the year is 500, so if you're not a member yet, please contact Paola and join us. We got 12 corporate members, ESA, Airbus, Thales Alenia, all the OHB, and many more. And I want to thank these companies and corporations for their support. And of course, I want to thank DLR, who is sponsoring this breakfast this morning. Yes, what is the engine behind this enormous growth and the success of our organization? It is, in a nutshell, something that always is behind great developments in the course of human history. It's the logics of a simple and obvious idea. In this case, the idea that applying the principle of diversity will always provide the most efficient and powerful fuel to run the motor of societal development. Diversity of gender, of age, of nationality and education, diversity of ethnic as well as cultural roots. WIA-Europe, Women in Aerospace, offers female professionals a stable network to enhance their personal outreach in this very special space community, recognizing and promoting all the diverse talents that it takes to strengthen growth and innovation in this highly dynamic sector. And indeed, the shortest way from here to innovative horizons, especially in the area of space and space technology, is a zigzag line. So thank you all again for joining us today, and I hope that this breakfast becomes one more inspiring moment and memory for all of us on this zigzag road to the diversity in space. And I want to give some special thanks to Lena Feichtinger, our Executive Director, for organizing this breakfast this morning.
Thank you, Claudia. And now I would like to invite the President of IAF, Mr. Kiyoshi Higuchi, for his welcome address, please.
Good morning, ladies and so many gentlemen. Every time I attended this meeting, even at very early morning, there are so many gentlemen here. I'm very happy as one of the co-organizers on behalf of IAF present. Why gentlemen want to participate so many? I don't want to tell you anymore. Probably the gentlemen want to like to work together with the ladies. And then, but today it is very hard to me to speak very sad news. As already you know, we have one important person missing, Andrea Booth. Andrea had an important role in the IAF Bureau and activities, especially in the Young Generation Program and the Global Conference it is still hard to believe that heartbreaking that she is no more with us. However, I believe that her heritage definitely encourages us to go forward to future endeavor of IAF, particularly to achieve more diversity in our federation. Today, I would like to, I'm very happy and very delighted to have make a signature cooperation agreement on cooperation between the WIA in Europe and IAF. But I want to ask you, which is easy or which is difficult to start something or continue? You can imagine your life with your partner. Then, okay, I'm very happy to start cooperation with the WIA in Europe, but we have to work more, best effort to expand our cooperation. Thank you.
Mr. Gucci, please stay here. May I invite also Claudio back to sign the cooperation agreement, Women in Aerospace Europe and IF. And now I have the great pleasure to give the word to one of our continuous supporters, the Director General of the European Space Agency, Professor Jan Werner. Please.
Thank you very much, and good morning, ladies. Women in Aerospace Breakfast, and you heard already the name of Andrea Böse. She was the Chief Diversity Officer of the German Aerospace Center DLR, and she brought me to this breakfast when it was still what I could call a personal or a secret tip. We were only a few, only 2 men, and several women, and at that time it was my great pleasure to have some words given to the women. And during that and after that, Andrea Böse always forced me to take the opportunities of these Women in Aerospace Breakfast and other activities to try to work for equal opportunities. And this is still something where we have to work. And of course, you know these guys, John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev, and just a quote from John F. Kennedy at that time. And you know all of this. I believe this nation should commit itself, and so on, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. So it was very clear what he meant. And the result was that there were the so-called 7 brave men, the 7 brave astronauts, Mercury 7, the spacecrafts were Friendship 7, Freedom 7, and so on. But at the same time, there was also a gathering of women. Mercury 13, and it's the untold story of 13 female astronauts. None of them ever flew. I think the one died last year, as I got the information. So this was also part of the situation that I could enter into DLR, the German Aerospace Center, because I had no knowledge about space, to be honest. But I thought I have to know something more than others. So I said to the Finding Commission, I know more about space than all of you. And I told the story of the 13 female astronauts, and they were so impressed that I knew such a secret. But this was the only one. I come back to that later on. But there were other women, Galina Balashova, very famous, just in a very special circle, but she was the architect, the space architect for numerous spacecrafts, and she was really a visionary person. And Valentina Tereshkovka, first female cosmonaut in space. Even you can find her, as you see here, on post-stamps. And in Germany at that time, we were also working on different space missions. I'm a German, as you can easily understand by my accent. And you see here what we did at that time. We had a nice movie, but at least what we had Lieutenant Helga Legrel from France and Security Officer Tamara Yagelovsk from Russia, not from Soviet Union, by the way, at that time. And it was in 1966, and this was more or less the idea of an international space station. So not only international, but also very diverse. And as you know, afterwards, with the Apollo effect, which was called because due to the activities of the Americans in space, there was a big rise of people entering the STEM area. So you see here the physical science PhDs, the engineering PhDs, and they have some relation to the money spent for Apollo and also, of course, for the missions to the moon. It's called Apollo effect. Of course, it was using the name of the capsule, but you have to know that it is at the same time a Greek god, Apollo. And this Greek god was not alone. He had a sister. And his sister was Artemis, a twin. So it's a god of women. So it's very good. So we should think about the future. The gender distribution of the past in space was something like this, very unique and very uniform. But we should move it to another one. And this is then the Artemis effect, if we go to that. Now I'm looking around. Now here, again, many men are here. I took a photo just 2 days ago, which was much better in that direction. You see here, that was, and the only thing which is missing on this picture is more female astronauts. So there are only 2 astronauts, and both are men. So some female astronauts were missing. Sandra was there, but she wasn't on the picture, unfortunately. So the question is, how do we do with diversity in the future? And men have always nice ideas. Diversity, as we learned, is more than female and male. It's also age, it's color, it's religion. So, of course, we are always looking for clear measures how to do it. Okay, I will give you now some ideas. For instance, tire service for wheelchairs, or sign language for blind, or what about a rocking chair for business, or nursing rooms for working fathers, or finally, parking lots for women. Are that the right means to go ahead? Of course, it's not. And therefore, we don't need stupid measures and rules, but we should not be neutral, not ignorant, but also not generously tolerant. All of these words are the wrong words. So what we should do, and this is a quote defined, and I got it from Andrea Böse, because she told me you have to say that. So what is diversity really? You should be proactively using diversity as the instrument to take advantage of different personalities, having different backgrounds, different views, and different competencies. This is what diversity is. And then it means for us, as the European Space Agency, we can move to an equal opportunity space agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Werner. We are very pleased to have today with us Dr. Dava Newman, NASA Deputy Administrator. Welcome, Dr. Newman.
See if this works. Morning, everyone. Morning, you awake? It's great to see everyone in the background. It's really my distinct honor to be with all of you at 7 a.m. Women in Aerospace Europe. What a fantastic conference, what a fantastic day to be here with all of you. And what an important breakfast. I mean, glad you've been doing it so long. I just became the 475th member of Women in Aerospace Europe, so very glad to that. And from the U.S. and from our Women in Aerospace in the U.S., welcome to everyone, and let's see what we can all do together. We have big dreams and big goals to accomplish. I got to meet some of the leaders of the Women in Aerospace in Paris just last month, and I'm so glad to see you all here in Jerusalem. So I look forward to accomplishing all of this diversity. And I loved Jan's comments, thank you, because that's what it takes, but we all have to be incredibly proactive. As an aerospace engineer myself, and my 5-year-old lesson was watching Apollo 11 land and thinking, we can do this. You know, humanity just went to the moon, we went there, and dream big. All options were open to me as a young girl growing up in Helena, Montana, not quite the middle of the space hub of the US, but thinking, you know, it takes all of us. It takes all of us to get there. And I'm really glad to see everyone here, and we all, every day, have to work on this. I think we set the goals for excellence and diversity, and as you know, we're on a pretty important journey to Mars at NASA. We're very focused. We're at the International Space Station with many of our partners and folks here. We're learning so much. I think we can actually say now from the ISS, actually breakthrough science, breakthrough technology demonstrations, and also really importantly, we're bringing in the commercial sector. Again, it takes all of us, diversity across government, industry, and academia. We all have a really important role to play. Then we move out to get to Earth-Moon orbit. Can't wait for that. We're developing Space Launch System, the Orion, and that's going to get us to make really incredible progress, test out different technologies, and then in the 2030s onward to Mars. We'd like to do this all globally. We need to have everyone involved that wants to be involved and partner. It's challenging, it's hard, it's spaceflight, and that's why we're all here. I want to tell you a little bit about a few things at NASA. We've just had our recent meeting of women and girls at NASA. And I just wrote down a few of our lessons learned that I'd like to share with you today. And a meeting with headquarters and all across all of our NASA centers, talking about how can we make it the most friendly environment for women and people of color, underrepresented folks. As we say, we need diversity of all kinds. We're all great thinkers. We need everyone at the table, and we're going to be relentless in pursuing this. And so usually starts from the bottom up. Just employ internal kind of volunteer working groups. We have many women groups that just organically form at the centers because they kind of they feel like, you know, maybe critical mass. How are other people dealing with this? So just usually from the ground up, we have women employee groups that make a huge difference. They make a huge difference in their communities at our centers, and they do outreach, and they're recruiting every, you know, little young girl and boy out there to say, hey, we kind of have the best thing going in exploration, and come join us. You know, we need you all. Highlighting role models. I've never been taught by a female in aerospace engineering my entire life, and I became an aerospace engineering professor. And what a great job, what a great career. You know, how lucky am I? And so, but it's too slow. Frankly, it's too slow. We can't wait decade after decade after decade. So I'm thrilled to see some of my former, you know, students and colleagues, men and women, because I know that they're going to really accelerate the progress in this area. I'm glad to see so many men, because here's the action item for you. We're inviting all of you, because of course this is not a women's issue. It's an issue for all of us to really make a much more diverse and well-represented aerospace, you know, workforce across the world. So we're counting on all of you, and thank you for encouraging women and inspiring women, because we're inspired by all of you men, and you're our role models as well. So we're calling on you to work with us in this, and we really appreciate all those who have stepped up. If you think, wait, that's not for me, guess what? It's for all of us to work on this, and again, just see how well we can do. I'd like to bring up mentoring. Mentoring is a really important issue and challenge, frankly. So We talked about the pipeline, getting people in, inspiring young girls and boys, but then we tend to lose people. So maybe hire some early career folks. They're doing great. Give them really hard jobs, challenge them. I think, let them get their hands dirty. Smaller projects. I'm also here to celebrate failure, right? You don't hear that too much, in aerospace. But on the small projects, getting there, learning. So get your hands dirty, given projects, empowering our young early career folks. But that's not good enough. That's just step one. This is a very long process. Then for the mid-career women, typically life is busy, right? Things get really, you have to kind of multitask, so we need everyone's support and thinking about mentoring and just taking that extra 1 or 2 minutes when you're having coffee. How's it going? A pat on the back. We hear over and over from women who we think are superstars. They're superstars. And if you tell them that, they say, I've never been told that. So please, a little positive reinforcement. Tell people when they're doing excellent work, just, give them a hug. Sometimes they're huggers. I'm a hugger. Tell them they're doing great work. That little pat on the back, that little encouragement, a little mentoring, and it can be critical as well. A little mentoring, well, maybe look at it this way, not that way, can go a long way, and it can keep women in your workforce, especially kind of at the mid-career. And then, again, opening up opportunities, because I hope we sit here when we have, much more representative, closer to 50-50 women in leadership in all of aerospace. So those are some of the things that we've been talking about, encouraging people, to women in particular, to apply for a new position or the next position. That's key as well. Again, just a little encouragement, but if you know about open positions, making sure that you're encouraging people to apply, because that's the way you get the most diverse folks. First, you got to get them to apply, and there's confidence as well, saying, no, you are the right person for the job, because maybe people don't see themselves because they don't have role models, so they might not see themselves in that job. So we have to encourage all the best and the brightest to apply and kind of open up some of those doors. It's really an important way to open up the doors for women in aerospace. So then I think I'm going to zip down to just kind of skip the rest of my prepared remarks and tell you just from the heart. I'll have to see if I can transfer it and work at NASA. But in the past, in teaching and mentoring, it was pretty simple for me. My philosophy was to love, act, discover, and innovate. And that's a message I think I'll leave with all of you here today, is love, act, discover, and innovate. I think that's what we're all about. At the human level, we want to bring everyone on board so that we can accomplish, our really challenging goals. And it's great to see everyone here this morning. And thank you for inviting me, and I look forward to the rest of the comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Newman. Our next speaker today is Mrs. Inbal Kreis, Deputy General Manager of MBT, Space Division, Israel Aerospace Industries. Welcome, Mrs. Kreis.
Good morning, everybody, friends. I'm excited to stand here today as the Israeli space industry representative in this distinguished forum that gathered so many colleagues, women, men, and leaders from the international space community. I am glad for choosing as a host our beautiful capital as the holy city of Jerusalem. The situation here in the Middle East is one that compels Israel's leaders, scientists, and industries to constantly be on top of their game. This challenge force us as the space community to always set the bar high, sometimes even higher than what seems possible, and constantly work to overcome barriers. Actually, this is the essence of my career. I was born and raised in Israel to a family of pioneers. My grandparents escaped from Germany and the horror of World War II to Israel, and were a major part of the effort of building our incredible country. After graduating engineering from the Technion, I was drafted to the Israeli Defense Forces as a young engineer. This was the first assignment that started my professional journey literally all the way to the space. I served in the Ministry of Defense Research and Development Directorate, working on Israel core defense projects. Later, I raised bar from land to air and even higher to space, and led the Aero 3 Interceptor Development Program, a unique engagement concept that achieved full success and considered a paradigm shift in exoatmospheric interception systems. I was asked, seriously, if the reason that the configuration of the interceptor is include a skirt as a steering device is because of that the program manager is a woman. Seriously. In my current assignment, I climbed to higher altitudes in space as the Deputy General Manager of MBT Space Division in Israel Space Industry. Israel, as the 8th spacefaring nation, has a long-standing, successful space heritage. We focused in building lightweight, high-resolution observation satellites with radar or optic payloads and achieved leading capabilities. The achievements of Israel's space industry are a result of long-term vision and provides of all the technologies required to design, build, integrate, launch, and operate our satellites, our national assets in space. I stand here before you today as an Israeli engineer, as a leader, as a woman, as a wife, as a very, very proud mother to my 3 grown-up kids. But every morning or sometimes every evening when I step into my office in the Israeli Space Center, I don't think of myself in any terms of identities. Rather, I am concentrated in my duties for the short term and in the ways to fulfill the vision we embraced for the long term. Space is a true Israeli success story, and in order to continue this proud legacy, we must do more and drive our space activity to a new level and maintain our technological lead. The golden question is how? In my vision, we need to systematically create and develop innovative ideas and especially look for added values in compared to the international market. This is an ongoing effort that addresses cross-cutting initiatives directly to technology state-of-the-art programs. Space programs face enormous challenging in accomplishing technical feats that have never been done before. Additional key parameter is maintaining the organization environment of determination and refusing to settle for less than excellence, and to keep the expectations high. 2 weeks ago, I visited in Europe our integration team working on our communication satellite Amos 6, or as our young engineers refer to him since last week as a nickname, Amos Facebook. This team emphasized these principles. They are conducting the dynamic environmental test prior to launch, according to the original plan and schedule. This integration team is highly professional and entirely dedicated to the mission. Additional challenge is to orchestrate the different efforts in supervising the 8 new satellites that are now in various stages of design and build. These day-to-day activities required highly level of expert personnel in various disciplines. Well-defined organizational process and management focus on creating organizational culture of high-quality standards. My next challenge is to adapt collaboration as a strategy, which is one of the most significant factors. We have to sustain international cooperation, which has been essential to achieve truly great accomplishments in space while providing value to all. We see international partnership as a vital to our future success. Yet, it seems that now we witnessed one of the most important challenging movements, the new space era. In this movement, worldwide aerospace companies working to develop low-cost access to space. Israel's space industry is aiming to become leading industry in the field and create a new ecosystem in Israel into the new space era in creative, innovative, and professional environment. I am leading the new space arena, and I am sure you are all aware of difficulties. But dealing with all these changes only encourage and motivate me to promote and develop this field. And last important goal is giving back to the community. We believe that education is vital to the well-being and development of society and economy. Education is a vehicle to transform the life of citizens to a better place. Our education programs expose the youth to the innovation and creativity in space industry and encourage them to choose studies, science, engineering, and mathematics. This way, we are cultivating a new generation of space scientists. And now, please allow me to take this opportunity to introduce you some of the most important assets of Israel Space Center, our brilliant, promising, and excellent engineers. Michal Milstein. Please stand up, Michal. Michal, she is the Chief System Engineer in our flag program, OPSA 3000 Observation Satellite. Natalie Frankel. Please stand up, Natalie. Natalie and her family immigrated to Israel from Russia when Natalie was 11 years old. Natalie graduated aeronautical and space engineering. Her first assignment was observation satellite engineer. Later, she was system engineering in Amos 6 team, and now she is integration engineer in OPSA 3000 program. Natalie is the mother to 2 kids. Jenny Alpert. Excellent mechanical design engineer, focusing in designing propulsion system for space. Jenny immigrated with their family from Ukraine when she was 10 years old, and she is also a mother for 2 little kids. Ilanit Avdar. In addition to her assignment in software design team, she is highly contributed to our educational program. Danielle Pochter. Danielle is a software engineer in our command and control software design in Texar program observation satellite. Irit Fried. Leading organizational process and in charge of our educational programs and all types of giving back to the community efforts, and do so many other very important special tasks. Thank you all of you for joining us this morning. And let me conclude by stating that space has always symbolized the future and progress of humanity. This magical sense is what inspired all of us every day. We accomplished a lot so far, but there is much more work to be done. I believe that only the combination between long-term vision and hard day-to-day work is the key for creating a better world for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kreis. Professor Pascal Ehrenfreund, Chair of the Executive Board of the German Aerospace Center, DLR, is our next speaker today. Please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I came in here and I thought I'm in the wrong room. Yeah, I'm a part of Women of Aerospace for many years, and I remember that we mostly had breakfasts which were very intimate, and of course Professor Werner was always with us. Yeah? I'm really very astonished and really, I think, very happy that this is such a big event and that people don't even have enough, that we don't even have enough chairs. And that means really that the topic is getting more and more important, and WIA and the work of WIA is recognized and is growing. And I have actually, I'm the new head of DLR since August. And as you know, and I'm sure she has been mentioned several times here today, Andrea Böse, she was our Gender and Diversity Officer. And in that sense, she tried to do a lot, and we have to honor her commitment and DLR, and we certainly will. So when I look at the numbers of my organization, DLR, there is one institute director out of 32, which is female. There is also one site director out of 6 that is female, and I think about 17% of the workforce of women are in leading positions at DLR. And we are 8,000 employees. And I know we have to change that over time. This is something which we will do. Also, that was one of the ideas of Andrea Böse. I just want to tell a little bit about my own career. I have been, growing up in this space society, and it was fun, but it was getting more and more fun when there were more women around. And I can see that, when 20 years ago I had 2 or 3 female students and, 10 boys, and now it's actually the other way around. And that really says that something has changed. And I think when we look at the statistics today, there are more women than actually persevere academic careers, at least until graduation. And something happens after that. And obviously family is one important thing, but when we look around, I see all the young men really taking up tasks. And I think it's really important that in this phase, when you just go through this studies and you graduate, that then you have to have opportunities and you don't drop out after you have done all this work. And I think this is something what also WIA, where WIA can help, and all the organizations, that we really mentor and that we help to get over this phase, because you can have a family and a leading position, not only in aerospace as a woman, but everywhere. And I think we have to do a lot of mentoring. So I have 2 children. They are already over 20, but believe me, when they're at home, it's still like hotel mama, so I'm still doing all the laundry and everything. It will probably go on until 25 or 27. And But it is something which was always intrinsic to me, and I remember even when I was in a project design review and big things, I scribbled on the side, repair washing machine, make dentist date for my daughter, you know, vaccinations and so on. This is what we are really good for, I think. We women, we can really multitask. And it really didn't change anything to do all these things beside, because I still had something, I still could do the summary, you know, of the project design review after. And this is, I think, our strengths. And we, I think, have also this this task, you know, to prepare young women which are afraid, you know, of taking this responsibility, to tell them it's really, really easy. Believe me, you can still do everything and raise kids and just do all the household and the cars and repair your car and everything. So I think WIA is a very, very great organization, and as you see, it has more and more impact. And I think we can thank all the officials of WIA, which really are doing so much work and are trying to mentor young women, giving awards to young women, and giving them this kind of really background and also the strengths that they can go further, because particularly in aerospace, I think this is something which is really, really important. I'm just looking if I have forgot something. I'm always writing on my hand, this is very well known. But I think I have said many things. The mentoring is not on something only what should be done by women. This is also what should be done by men. It is very important to get somebody to the next step by giving the person tasks. And the next time when you give tasks, look if there is a great young woman which is enthusiastic, and do that, because this is the next step to responsibility that gives this kind of incentive of going further. And I think this is something what everybody has to do. And I think we are about 50% men and women here in this room, which is fantastic. And I want to thank again WIA being a part of it. How great work they are doing, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pascal. Our last speaker this morning is Dr. Deganit Paikovsky, Senior Researcher, Yuval Ne'eman Workshop for Science and Security, Tel Aviv. Please.
Good morning. I'm so thrilled to be here this morning and speak before you, so thank you for the opportunity. As a teenager, I was interested in astrophysics, and thankfully in my high school they offered an astrophysics class, which was my first engagement to the field. Nevertheless, for my BA studies and later on MA and PhD, I chose international relations. When I was going to the PhD, this was the first time to combine the two fields together, and so my dissertation was the first one in Israel to focus on space policy. This background gave me the opportunity to develop the field of space policy and strategy in Israel, and as a researcher and as a teacher at Tel Aviv University. There I had the space policy group, which monitors and analyzes global developments in the space market and the trends of governmental space activity. I combined this work with serving as a consultant to the National Council for Research and Development, which operates under the auspices of the Ministry of Science and Technology in Israel. In this position, I have the opportunity to lead processes relating to space policy, research and development, strategy at the national and international level. I can tell you that 3 years ago, we established an intergovernmental team of experts on space policy in which women are the majority. We are 4 out of 7. When I was about to begin my PhD, one of my professors told me that I was doing a major mistake. He argued that I was about to enter a field dominated by men, and as a woman without much of a military experience, although I did serve my obligatory military service in Israel, I would always suffer from a disadvantage. I have to admit that after almost 15 years of a career in space, gender has never been a disadvantage. Gender has never been an issue for me. And this is a good time to thank my advisor at Tel Aviv University, who is also the chairman of the Israel Space Agency, Professor Isaac Ben Israel, for opening the door for me. The ability of people, let alone women, to break through from Earth and go into space is not obvious. To this day, only a few hundred people did that and have earned the title astronaut, cosmonaut, or taikonaut, and about 10% of whom are women. For these women, the breakthrough was not only their departure from Earth, but also the breakthrough from social barriers and conventions, and I think perhaps those were the more difficult tasks to achieve. Today, women take more active roles in developing space technology, science, exploration, and space exploration is no longer referred to as manned spaceflight, but as human spaceflight. Nevertheless, the number of women involved in space activity is still lower than the number of men, a fact which should and can be changed. A few years ago, I was privileged to meet astronaut Barbara Morgan here in Israel. Barbara, a teacher in profession, came to Israel to participate in Israel Space Week, which is held annually in memory of astronaut Colonel Ilan Ramon, who died when NASA's Columbia Space Shuttle was destroyed. Barbara was asked to teach a class of 7th graders. The class was nationwide broadcast, and I was asked to join her in class and help with translating from English to Hebrew. I can tell you it was an exciting and inspiring experience for me. Barbara shared her experience and views with the children, and they were absolutely thrilled. And at the end of the session, a young Arab girl, she raised her hand and asked, "Would you be willing to take me with you to space on your next flight?" And Barbara replied, "If you want this so much, then study hard, focus on science and technology, and in a few years you will be an astronaut yourself." So in 2010, I served as a member and the only woman of the presidential team which was assigned to reform the national space policy in Israel and initiate a new civil space program in order to increase Israel's commercial space activity and competitiveness. Among the issues we identified as significant was the need to increase the number of young people in Israel who become professionals in science and technology. Therefore, among the issues, our recommendations emphasized the need to expose large communities in Israel to space science, technology, and exploration. Israel's Space Agency is working hard on this mission, which includes expanding opportunities for women and especially young girls to specialize in space. That entails developing their leadership skills and increasing their visibility and influence in the space community in Israel. As a mother of 2 young boys, I noticed the fact that from a very, very young age, girls are often given subtle signals to keep away from science. Often I hear boys being credited for being smart, while girls win their attention for being pretty. It's up to us to change that. And the way forward is by encouraging kids' natural curiosity as early as possible. I remember my mom reading adult books to both my brother and me, and my dad teaching us about germs when he was screening slides on a large closet in our home. So in our family, there is a well-kept tradition of giving books as gifts for the Jewish holiday. And about a year ago, my parents bought science books for my sons and nephews, and my niece got a fairy tale book. Thankfully, I discovered that in advance, and I urged them to go and switch the book and get her a science book as well. And that was a space book. So women in Israel are involved in space activities in a variety of fields, which range from engineering to policy and legal issues. But still, this is a small group, some of whom are present here this morning, and I thank you all for coming and attending this important event. It is our responsibility to further expand this group, and we need to encourage young women to get involved in space activities and inspire them to believe that it is in their power to succeed and excel in this domain. Thank you again for coming to Jerusalem.
Thank you, Dr. Pajkowski. And now we have a small surprise for you. Galina Vasilyeva will present to you a very interesting new project. Please, Galia.
This one here. Is it fine? It's empty.
Где? Нету? Как нет?
Sorry, this technical problems. 1 minute.
Okay, we have time. I will start this presentation. Actually, morning everybody. Actually, we haven't prepared to this presentation because we were not sure that Lena will give us a chance to present our new project. We prepared our poster. You can see it here. And nevertheless, thanks to Lena for inviting us to this meeting. This is the first time we attend the meeting of Women in Aerospace Society, and we are happy to be here, and we hope that we will become very active members of this society. We represent Moscow Institute of Biomedical Problems of the Russian Academy of Sciences. And I hope that most of you have heard about our institute, which is the leader in the field of space biology and medicine. And now we are planning to launch a very ambitious project which corresponds absolutely to the tasks of Women in Aerospace Society. It will be mostly a women's project because we will tell you in more detail later, because we will have 6 young girls as volunteers. Inside our isolation facility, which was used already for Mars 500 Days project, and I do hope that you've heard about our Mars 500 Days project. Now we can present a new project, and we are planning to launch it this month on the 28th of October. Galina is one of the leading scientists of this project, and she will present you to it to you.
Дорогие коллеги, дорогие друзья,
So, dear colleagues, dear friends,
так как эта презентация сюрприз не только для вас, но и для нас.
yes, this presentation is a surprise not only for you, but also for us.
Но это чисто по-женски. Скажи,
Давай.
чисто по-женски. Поэтому, к сожалению, какая-то техническая ошибка, и мы не можем показать полную презентацию. Придется ограничиться одним слайдом.
That is why we have some technical problems with the full presentation. We will show you only one slide.
Yes. Но мы хотим обратить ваше внимание на наш эксперимент, который только начинается и который, мы надеемся, будет важен не только для медико-биологического обеспечения космических полетов, но и для всех технических.
But we would like to attract your attention to this new project, which we hope that it will be very important, not only for...
Но и для технического обеспечения полетов.
Не только для чего?
Не только для медико-биологического.
Not only for biomedical support of space flights, but also for technical issues.
Мы представляем проект... скажи название.
The name of our project is Luna 2015. We are planning to place 6 women volunteers inside the chamber, isolation chamber, in our institute.
Да. Проект построен по типу полета на Марс.
This will be a simulation of flight to the moon and back.
Первая часть предполагает исследование на центрифуге короткого действия, которое будет симулировать
The project consists of several stages, and the first stage will be we will have studies using a centrifuge of short radius, short-arm centrifuge.
До 1,5 G.
Up to 1.5 G.
После этого будет изоляция экипажа в течение 8 суток.
After this, we will have isolation of our crew during 8 days.
И имитация посадки тоже на центрифуге короткого действия, тоже до 1,5 G.
Еще что?
Имитацию посадки экипажа.
And we will have simulation of landing of the crew with also with use of the centrifuge up to 1.5 G.
Хотим обратить ваше внимание, что несмотря на короткую продолжительность проекта, проект сложен, так как женский экипаж впервые.
Despite a very short period of this experiment, it is very complicated because this is the first time when we will have absolutely women's crew.
Поэтому основные задачи нашего эксперимента – это изучение психологической совместимости
And of course, the
экипажа.
first task of this experiment is to study psychological interactivity inside the crew.
И у нас будет более 30 экспериментов за эти 8 суток.
We have very good scientific program. We will have more than 30 experiments during these 8 days.
И хотим обратить ваше внимание на несколько коротких моментов, которые еще мы представляем. Все участницы этого экипажа – это сотрудники нашего института, все молодые ученые.
All crew members are IBNP staff members also, and they are scientists. All of them are scientists.
Кандидаты наук и аспиранты.
Candidates of sciences and postgraduate students. And you can see 2 of them here.
Елена Лучицкая и Татьяна Шигуева.
Елена Лучицкая и Татьяна Шигуева.
Они приехали сюда со своими докладами на секциях.
And they have come to this Congress with their own presentations. And despite their young age, you can be sure that they are very experienced scientists.
И в самом эксперименте они также будут проводить свои научные программы.
And they have their own program inside this experiment.
И вторая задача этого эксперимента, первая представлена на слайде, это обучить молодых ученых нашего института работать самостоятельно без поддержки старших коллег.
And the second task, very important task, is to teach young generation of our institute to perform the experiments of such kinds. And more older specialists will train them. And I would like to present to you the scientific leader of this project, Sergey Unfortunately, he's a man, but this is very typical situation for Russia. Usually, we have men leaders, and we have women who implement ideas of our leaders into life.
Ну и в заключение мы хотели бы поблагодарить за предоставленную возможность выступить на этом завтраке Симону де Пипа и лично Елену Файтингер.
And again, we are very, very thankful to Lena Feitinger and to Simonetta de Pipa for inviting us to this breakfast.
И надеемся привлечь ваше внимание к этому эксперименту и к дальнейшей серии экспериментов, которые планируются в нашем институте с длительной изоляцией.
And we hope that you will be interested in this experiment. And moreover, we are planning to continue this experiment with mixed crews. We will have male-female crews starting from 2017. The series of isolations.
Как мы сказали, это будет эксперимент интересен не только медикам и биологам, но надеемся, что и технические специалисты тоже.
Yes, and again, we hope that this experiment will be interesting not only for biologists and physicians, but also for technical experts. You are welcome to join next isolation studies in our institute.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. With this, we will close our official part of this meeting. Please enjoy the networking, and if anybody have any questions, do not hesitate to ask our speakers directly, to approach them directly. Thank you.